Welcome back to the next training session for the A-18 Hornet, where we're going to learn about straight-in landings at airfields. So let's go ahead and jump into the lesson and see what we got to do.
In previous lessons, we learned how to take off and navigate, but what goes up must come down. In this lesson, we'll go over the basics of landing a Hornet at an airfield in visual flight rules conditions using a straight-in approach. This will also be useful for the later instrument flight rules landing lesson. I currently have the lesson paused as I want to first outline the basics of an airfield VFR straight-in approach. Before flying this lesson, please make sure you are familiar with the HUD symbology as described in the manual and first lesson. Press spacebar to continue. You will start the approach 11 miles out at 3,000 feet barometric and 260 knots on approach to runway 07 at Koboleti. Once at 5 miles, you will be at 1,500 feet, and this will place you on a 3-degree glide path to the runway. To measure your glide path angle, reference your velocity vector on the HUD in relation to the pitch ladder. A 3-degree flight path is standard for a Hornet landing. For a straight-in approach, we will keep the HUD showing barometric altitude. This will also be true for IFR landings. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay, that's a little bit confusing because they're telling us that first we're going to start out at 11 miles, which we probably are, but it's saying 3,000 feet barometric, which, from my understanding, means that should be the indicated altitude as measured by our altitude indicator, or altitude measuring device, which should be what is being displayed right here. But this is saying that we're right around 2,000 feet, so I'm a little confused by that, but whatever. We are at around 260 knots. We're going to follow the glide path in, which is indicated by here, but it's saying to measure your glide path angle, reference your velocity vector on the HUD in relationship to the pitch ladder. Reference your velocity vector on the HUD. You know what? It's just there's so much information I don't remember what the velocity vector is on the HUD. But I'm guessing they're trying to say that it's our airspeed indicator. Or no. You know, I don't know. Hopefully we'll figure it out. This is going to be easy because we'll be able to just follow it in. And I'm an experienced enough pilot that I can generally land an aircraft with no problem. Of course, I'm pretty rusty, but we'll see what happens. Let's continue on the lesson and hopefully this all works out.
After the lesson is unpaused, reduce your throttle to idle and fly through the gates ahead. Once your airspeed is below 250 knots, lower the landing gear by moving the landing gear control handle down. Do this by left-clicking the handle or by pressing the G key. Also lower the flaps to fold down by moving the flap switch in the down fold position, either by left-clicking on the switch twice or pressing left control F. Once the gear and flaps are down, keep flying through the gates and get the aircraft to an on-speed angle of attack. This is the proper AOA that will achieve the correct hook angle to catch the target wire of the carrier. You will want an angle of attack of 8.1 degrees, which will place the velocity vector on the HUD in the center of the E bracket. Additionally, your angle of attack target of 8.1 degrees is indicated by the AOA indexer lights to the left of the HUD frame. When at the on-speed AOA, the center yellow circle will be illuminated. Use the throttle to adjust your glide path and pitch trim to adjust AOA when the flaps are down. Use the first part of this flight to practice stabilized on-speed flight.
Okay,
Press spacebar to continue.
I don't think some of the indicators are on the screen right now because that E thing that he's talking about, I do remember that, and that hasn't shown up on the screen. So maybe that's why there's a little bit of confusion for me right now, because we're not moving and there's no indications on the screen for the things that we're supposed to see. So we're going to go ahead and press spacebar, and I think it's going to unpause the flight, and we're going to approach the airfield. So let's go ahead.
When you're ready, press spacebar and I will unpause the lesson.
Okay, so we're supposed to reduce to idle. I have my pitch trim for both my trim for both vertical and my trim for pitch and roll. There we go. Is set to my hat switch on my right on my stick.
Being below 250 knots, go ahead and lower your landing gear and drop the flaps to full. Reduce your airspeed by setting the throttles to idle. You may also wish to extend your speed brake by using the speed brake switch on the right throttle grip or by pressing left shift B to get slower more quickly. Note the SPD
Wow, man, the flaps on this
light on the
really
instrument panel
mess with
when
your
the speed brake
pitch.
is extended. As you slow below 140 knots, retract the speed brake by using the speed brake switch or pressing left control B. Adjust the throttle and stick trim to maintain 8.1 degrees of angle of attack. Velocity vector inside the E bracket. Use the gates as a reference for your glide path by keeping the velocity vector in the center of the next gate.
I can't focus on what he's trying to tell me to do. I'm not used to the fine-tuned characteristics of this, the way that all this works, so I'm having to like try to figure it out as I go. Stay within the things here, but okay, come on. I gotta figure out, I gotta get my pitch trim set so that really all I have to do is just adjust my velocity, my velocity vector or whatever it's called is really supposed to be inside that E, but that E is way up there because I'm going too fast. Just gotta figure out.
At this point, you should be on speed with an angle of attack of 8.1 degrees, indicated by the velocity vector in the center of the E bracket on the HUD. Use throttle input to adjust your glide path such that the E bracket is positioned over the runway threshold. Use pitch trim to keep on-speed AOA. You should now be on a 3-degree glide path down the runway.
Alright, I'm trying to figure out. It's been a while since I've flown anything, and I'm trying to fly this jet, which is super sensitive to everything, so bear with me as I try to figure this out. Alright, now we've got our E indicator, our E bracket, kind of towards where the runway is. Trying to adjust my pitch trim to keep us pointed at the runway. Just double check and make sure our landing gear is down, flaps are down.
Your glide path should be aligned with the runway threshold.
Okay, so we have our E bracket aligned mostly with the runway. So in general aviation, or in aviation, in any aviation, you use your speed to control your descent, and your pitch to control your... You use the throttle to control your descent and your pitch to control your speed, but our velocity... Little E... Oops. Man, that throttle's super sensitive. If I were flying a Cessna, this would be no problem, but I'm not, so...
Maintain on-speed AOA and fly the aircraft onto the runway with a vertical velocity of no more than 750 feet per minute, as displayed over the HUD altitude indication. Do not flare. Once the nose wheel comes down, use the rudder to keep the aircraft centered down the runway, and use the wheel brakes to bring her to a halt.
Okay. They said do not flare, but I'm pretty sure we don't want to come down nose first, so... Idle. There we go. Using my brakes to try to stop. Rudder pedals to keep us centered on the runway. Okay, that wasn't too bad. I gotta get used to the sensitivity of the throttle, though. I'm used to regular planes where you have to make big adjustments to have some kind of any kind of real effect. Okay, well, that wasn't too bad. I would imagine the lesson's about to come to an end, so...
Well done.
All right, yeah.
You can end the lesson now by pressing the escape key.
Okay, so lessons learned from that are, number one, you gotta be super, like, tiny with the throttle adjustments, and generally in jets you have to be proactive with it, but I've noticed that this actually moves pretty quick, so I don't need to make the big adjustments I'm used to in like the jets and stuff that you see in the other planes. But so that's pretty cool. It gives you the little E bracket to try to help you manage your speed, which is good. So you put the little E where you want it. Adjusting the throttle moves where the E goes. So if you put the E where you want to go, then that should give you the speed that you need. and then you just make little adjustments to get the E where you want it, and then you put the velocity vector inside that E, and that will take you where you want to go. So I guess that's kind of the gist of this whole lesson. Follow the E in, and you will land where you want to land, which I guess will be helpful for carrier landings when we get to that. So go ahead and finish up this, end this lesson now, and we will move on to whatever the next one is. So see you next time. Thank you for watching.